Okay, so did you know that you can actually improve your mobility, to a certain extent at least, through strength training? What it really comes down to is just making sure that you're moving that joint through its full range of motion, and if you have any kind of restriction there, just increasing it a little bit with each rep. So a classic example of when people don't use the joint through the full range of motion is when they're doing bicep curls. So what they often do is they don't fully extend their arm down to the bottom. They kind of go to about there. It's about 2/3. And so you'll see those guys walking around like gorillas like that. And what it is basically they haven't fully extended their arm and they get a shortening of their bicep muscle. Another example is, and I think we're probably all guilty of this at the moment, kind of with our home setups and hunched over our laptops. But when we're kind of in this position, what is happening is your chest muscles are pretty much active the whole time and it's drawing your shoulders forwards. And really what we want to do is when we're doing, making sure when we're doing press ups, etc., kind of really kind of getting our chest right down to the bottom, or if we're doing chest press, is drawing the weight right down kind of level or perhaps even past our chest to kind of open up that chest, those pectorals. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually is just show you a few exercises that really kind of hammer home this point. First one I'm going to show you is a calf raise. And this is a key exercise in an endurance athlete's arsenal because the calf muscle is such an important running and cycling muscle. Okay, the thing about calf raise is quite often people don't drop their heel enough. Okay, and the calf raise is a fantastic one for kind of maintaining or improving your Achilles health. Okay, so when you're doing calf raises, make sure the ball of your foot is on the edge, and once you've gone up, make sure you're really dropping the heel down as far as you can go, and you should perhaps feel a little bit of a passive stretch at the bottom. Okay, if you're finding that your heel is kind of only able to get to kind of level, then it suggests that you need to really improve your mobility, and making sure when you're doing this exercise you're really dropping that heel down as far as you can go. With the calf raise, there's two kind of versions to it, which I suggest you do both. First one is doing it with a straight leg, and that's going to get into your gastrocnemius, which is kind of the big superficial calf muscle. Okay, so doing it with your leg straight, and the second one is doing it with your knee bent to about 45 degrees and dropping the heels still the same, going up onto the toes but keeping the knee bent, and that's going to get into your soleus, okay, which kicks in whenever your knee is bent, so pretty much when you're going uphill. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one I'm going to show you is one for improving hamstring mobility. Alright, so this is actually a yoga pose, it's called warrior, but it's also a single leg deadlift effectively. What you're going to do is just put your weight on the standing leg, keeping your standing leg straight, clutching your hands into your chest, and then you're just going to pivot at the hips. This back leg stays straight with toes pointed, and you're just going to push out in front of you like so until hopefully your chest is parallel to the ground, and that your elevated leg is also parallel. So you should look like a capital T, effectively. Okay, and what you'll also find is that as you're doing this, as you improve, you're getting a nice stretch on the hamstring. You can, once you've developed that, you can then start throwing weights, etc. And so you're then also improving your hamstring strength. But that one is primarily about mobility. Next one I'm going to show you is for your chest. So going back to what I was saying a moment ago about improving, kind of opening up your chest muscles. A really good way of doing that is doing press ups, but with a deficit. So basically what that means is kind of on a platform. So a really good example of that is just using a couple of dumbbells. Doesn't really matter what kind of weight they are, but you want them kind of at least kind of an inch or so off the ground. And then just when you're doing your press ups, you're dropping kind of below the level of your hands, and that's going to again just help to improve your range and open up those chest muscles a little bit. The final exercise I'm going to show you is quite a challenging one. It's called a Cossack Squat. Okay, so don't try and go as far as I'm going to demonstrate from the start. You have to kind of build into it and progress. But what you're going to do is to take your feet about pretty much as wide as you can get them. Have your toes pointing out diagonally. Want to keep your chest up and facing forwards throughout. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to move to the side, and as you're kind of lunging across the opposite leg, you're just going to rotate, come up onto your heel and rotate that foot so that the toes point up at the sky. So I'll just demonstrate this. So you're going down like so, right down, so your chest is still up, facing forwards, and then you go back over to the other side, right up to the top each time. But this one is a really good indicator of good kind of hip mobility, and in particular, kind of the mobility you have down the inside of your thighs. So there you go, those are a few exercises that just kind of hopefully hammer home how you can do kind of challenging strength exercises, but also improve your mobility at the same time. And the key point, as I said right at the start, is just making sure that joint is going through the full range of motion. Okay, so there you go, just a couple of things to think about. As always, if you need help with this sort of stuff, we do dynamic screenings and strength programs, and we can also talk to you guys a little bit more about this if you get in touch. So thank you.